Hi there, I'm Rob with Bestseller Publishing. Thanks so much for taking a minute to watch this video. In this video, I'm going to go over with you our 9-step publish, promote, and profit trademark program that we take every one of our clients through that needs a book. So we're going to take you through this process so you can go from not having a book at all to having a book that is a bestseller and that then positions you on television, on the radio, in speaking engagements so you can make a great income and an impact in your marketplace with your own best-selling book. So stay tuned for just a moment and we'll start with the publish phase of publish, promote, and profit. Welcome back. The publish phase is where we're going to begin. And this is for someone that doesn't have a book and needs the correct book written so that they can be positioned in their marketplace as the go-to expert. The publish phase has 3 specific steps, and I'm going to take a few minutes with you and go through each one of these steps. Step number 1 in the publish phase is what we call the foundation. Now, in many ways, the foundation is the place where a lot of would-be authors make a big mistake. See, oftentimes people have been thinking about writing a book for many, many years by the time they come to us. And so they've thought, what expertise do I have, or what story do I have that I would like to share with my marketplace or with my audience? And while those are good things to consider, the big challenge that you have to avoid in building the right foundation is to make sure that you don't share your story for yourself, but rather you share your story for your audience. In other words, how can your story help your audience and make an impact on them? So let me explain what we do in this foundation phase to make sure that the correct book is written. So the first thing we do when a new client begins with us is we set them up with a call with one of our project managers. We ask them to fill out a couple of forms. One in particular we call the Author Market Questionnaire. In the Author Market Questionnaire, we're going to ask questions about your market. We want to know, regarding your audience, what are their fears? What are their worries? What are their concerns? What are their aspirations and their desires? And how do you benefit that audience? In other words, how can you solve their problems, their biggest issues? How can you help them to reach their goals and their ambitions? When you fill out this form as detailed as possible, the project manager is then going to use that form in a brainstorming session with you to build out this foundation. The foundation is where we craft the hook for your book, as well as the title, the subtitle, and the table of contents. You see, your book can be your platform for the next 10, 15, 20 years or beyond. So you want to make sure that you're writing it for the correct audience, you're attracting the right person to you, and you're writing it with a message that appeals to that correct audience. This is what we do in the foundation phase. Really crucial, but that's where we come up with your hook, your title, your subtitle, and your table of contents, and we do it all with you. Once that step is complete, and typically that can take as long as 2 to 4 weeks, we then move into the creation phase. The creation phase is where our project manager then transitions you to one of our staff ghostwriters. Now, we don't do traditional ghostwriting at Bestseller Publishing. And the reason we don't do that is because we found that oftentimes traditional ghostwriting, you can lose your voice when doing it in a traditional manner. So we want to make sure that your voice is captured in your book. So here's how we do it to ensure that that takes place. We let every one of our authors know that the creation phase is going to be done with the ghostwriter, so you do 1 recording per chapter that you're creating. And that recording of that chapter's content is going to be done in a presentation style format. So as an example, just like you are going to be speaking to 20 people or 50 people or 100 people, and you are crafting a message with a story and with a few main points, we want you to create your chapter content in the same way. So you're going to get on a recorded conference line with the ghostwriter, and you're going to go through your presentation. You're going to start with a story. You're then going to hit the 2 or 3 main points in that particular chapter, and then you're going to tie it all together with case studies or with that story to illustrate the points that you've made. When you do that for every single chapter, and typically we do one chapter a week, but we can do it faster if you like, but when you do it for every chapter, we're then going to have hundreds of pages of material for you. Now, it's just transcripted material, but it's captured your voice. At that point, all of that material will then go to the ghostwriter, and by this time it's probably taken 2 or 3 months for all of that content to be created. Then the ghostwriter for the next 4 to 6 weeks is going to take that rough material, that transcripted material, and is going to turn it into your perfect book. It's going to be short, punchy sentences, correct paragraphs. It's going to have bullet points, correct introductions, conclusions. The last thing you want to do is just take a transcript and put it in a book and put a cover on it. That doesn't work. That's not a real book. We have to then do the creation to make sure that we have a great book, high quality, something that will position you exactly the way you want to be positioned. The last phase, or step rather, of the publish phase is what we call the execution. The execution is where we take now that manuscript that has been created for you, it's been edited, and now we have to execute so that that manuscript is live. So we're going to format that. We're going to design a professional cover for you with our own internal graphic designer that does that. We're going to format it for a digital version as well as a physical version. We're going to do the interior design, the exterior design, all of the standard publishing pieces like the ISBN numbers, the distribution, etc. All of that is done in the execution. From start to finish, this publish phase is about a 5-month process. It could be faster depending on the creation phase and how quickly you can create the content. But most of our authors are busy entrepreneurs, so if they can dedicate 1 hour, hour and a half at the most a week to us, then we can get this entire phase done in 5 months. That's the publish phase, and that's how we go from nothing to having your book for your audience positioned perfectly, formatted, both a physical version and a digital version. That is the publish phase of publish, promote, and profit. Hi, Rob again with Bestseller Publishing. In the last video, we covered the publish phase of Publish, Promote, Profit, our trademark program. In this video, we're going to cover the promote phase. Now, many people come to us already having their own book. And they say, well, Rob, do we really need to go through this publish phase again? And of course the answer is no, not necessarily. You don't have to create a brand new book. Now, if your book is 4 or 5 years old, you may want to create a second edition, and so you may need some elements of this publish phase. However, if your book is completed and it's ready to be launched, then this is more than likely where you would begin in the promote phase. The promote phase is where we take your book and we ensure that your book isn't like every other average book out there. And here's what I mean. Most people don't realize this, but the average book sells only 200 copies in its lifetime. It gets even worse than that. 80% of those copies are sold directly to the author to be given away at events, to friends, to family, etc. Who would want to spend sometimes years doing their life's work and then have absolutely no interest by the marketplace? So we want to ensure in the promote phase that that doesn't happen. So our promote phase is the phase where we do a marketing launch of your book and we guarantee that your book will become an Amazon bestseller. There are 3 steps to the promote phase. Step number 1 is the review step. The review step. The first thing we have to do once your book is live and all of the elements of the execution are done, meaning that we have a physical and a digital version, it's live, ISBN numbers, distribution, etc. The first step after that is the review step, which is us getting a minimum of 8 to 10 4- and 5-star reviews of your book. These are legitimate, real reviews. They're Amazon verified reviews, which means someone has gone through the Amazon system, purchased your book, and then reviewed it. As you might imagine, this is a little bit of a time-consuming process. We do this a number of ways. Number 1, we have large author groups that we're a part of where we do review exchanges. People on my staff at Bestseller Publishing will review an author's book, and then in turn that author will review one of our author's books, so that there's no direct connection and that review will stand. So this can take 2 to 3 weeks. It's often a good time as well for you to begin marketing your book to your market directly. Your social media, your email list, friends, family, etc., and ask for a review. However, if you can't get any reviews, we still cover this completely in the review step. We do everything in this promote phase. Step number 2, after the requisite number of reviews have been gotten, we then go into the setup. The setup is setting you up for a launch, a 5-day promotional period where we're going to flood the Amazon link and your book on Amazon with as much traffic as possible. We're going to do 3 national press releases mentioning your book on hundreds of different media sites like ABC, NBC, Fox, newspapers across the country. We're also going to be promoting your book by advertising it, paid advertising on over 50 different websites. Many of these websites get hundreds of thousands of book buyers every single month, and we're going to use 50 or more of these sites to drive traffic in your genre back to your book. We're also at that point going to be doing social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, etc. All this is going to be done in a 5-day window, so as soon as we're ready for step number 3, meaning that we've set everything up, we push the button and we launch it. All of the advertising hits, the press releases hit. Every single day we're doing social media in front of hundreds of thousands of people, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn if it's appropriate. Typically speaking, on the very first day of launch, our clients' books go all the way to number 1 in their category. Oftentimes, they're number 1 in multiple categories, 4 categories, 6 categories, even more than that. We, of course, guarantee that our clients will become a bestseller, because what's important is to be a best-selling author, have a best-selling book, so you can be positioned properly for the profit stage of publish, promote, profit. This is phase number 2, the promote phase. This is the phase that we guarantee your book will become a best-selling book and you will become a best-selling author. All right, Rob Kosberg back with Bestseller Publishing. We discussed in the previous 2 videos our publish phase of publish, promote, profit, our promote phase, which is the phase where we make your book a bestseller guaranteed. Now we're going to be talking about the profit phase. In many ways, this is the most exciting phase, because at this point, you have a best-selling book, you have something that you're proud of, something that you can, for the next 5 years or 10 years or even longer, use to position yourself in an amazing way in your industry. Now we actually begin doing that for you. There are 3 primary things we focus on in the profit phase. And by the way, in the profit phase, we will coach you and help you to build out your program, to do direct marketing, advertising, to set up your own speaking engagements, etc. But the amazing thing is that our profit phase is a guaranteed piece of our Publish, Promote, Profit. In other words, when you come on with us and start the Publish, Promote, Profit program, we guarantee that we're going to get you on television, on the radio, speaking engagements, etc. We have a director of publicity here in the office, Michelle, that gets on the telephone. She creates your segment proposal for you. She pitches you to ABC. We have relationships all over the country. And as you can see, probably through our social media, we have authors that are featured on TV and on the radio almost every single day now. So we're very excited about this phase, because this is a phase where in many ways it gets exciting for you. So the first thing we focus on is speaking engagements in the profit phase. Think of it this way. There are conferences, associations, private organizations all over the country that are looking for experts in your industry. When an expert speaker is competing against another expert speaker, and one of those expert speakers is a best-selling author, common sense tells us that who is going to stand out in that competition? Of course, the best-selling author. So as part of our Publish, Promote, Profit, and specifically Profit phase, we're going to show you and we're going to help you and line up speaking engagements for you so you can be in front of your ideal audience, making an impact and making an income in your industry. The second part is free publicity. In some ways, this is even the first part. There are hundreds of media organizations all over the country, thousands if you include radio, that are looking for contributors, experts, go-to people that are credible and that can deliver content that's interesting to their audience. When we call ABC, NBC, CBS, and talk about one of our authors, they immediately know our author is an expert, they're a best-selling author, and they have a segment proposal that's been professionally created for them by our Director of Publicity, Michelle. So it's an easy process for us to get you positioned on television, radio, blogs, etc. On this page, you'll also see some other case studies where we've done that for authors. You'll see some case studies where we've helped them get speaking engagements. And then last but not least, you'll also see some case studies on how we help them with lead generation. So the third and final piece that we focus on in the profit phase is using your book to set up a lead generation program so that you, on a continual basis, can get new leads for whatever it is that you're selling, your service, your program, your coaching, your consulting, whatever it is. As a best-selling author, and as somebody that does speaking engagements, if you're interested in that, as somebody that's been featured on television, on the radio, then they're going to see you as the credible expert in your industry. And in many cases, you'll go from completely unknown to the very top of your industry because of this process. Now, as I've gone through this, I've talked about the publish phase taking about 5 months if you need a book created. The promote phase takes another 2 to 3, and the profit phase takes another 3 to 4. So start to finish is about a year process, again, depending on how long it takes us to create the book and depending on a couple of other elements. But by the time you go through this and finish, you will see that as a best-selling author, you have the kind of credibility and positioning that you've never had before. That is the profit phase and, in fact, summation of the Publish, Promote, Profit program. I hope this was helpful to you in explaining clearly what we do and how we do it and how we take someone that doesn't have a book all the way through the process so they're not only a best-selling author, but they're a best-selling author featured on television, on the radio, and speaking and generating leads and income and impact to their ideal audience and industry. Thanks so much for being with me today. Hopefully this was really helpful to you, and we look forward to serving you in the future to make you a best-selling author with Bestseller Publishing.